Okay, are we live? Are we live? All right. Today, going to be hosted by Digger Jam, and Digger Jam is going to introduce this guy, gorgeous guy right here, and
I am okay.
meantime, I'm going to try to get the Instagram working. So go, guys, go, go,
Okay.
go.
Let me introduce you to this incredible artist. His name is Loc Nguyen. Mad Monkey Love is your Instagram, right?
That is my Instagram. Yeah.
Right. He has done numerous art projects for people in the community. Did you do a sketch on the C3?
Yes.
Yep,
I have the
did a
book
sketch.
somewhere, but
Yep,
yeah.
did a sketch on C3. So
Yep.
he helps support comics curing cancer. If you guys don't follow him on Instagram, then you're missing out. I have a piece somewhere in here that I won. That is an amazing Hellboy piece that I'd rather frame it than have it in a book, but I don't have a lot of framing area anymore. My back is it would be here when nobody could see it and except me, but that may still happen. Um, yeah, you've done a lot of different things though lately. Talk to us about what. Give us a brief synopsis of your origin story so we can start from there. Like, when did you start and so forth? Really
Yeah.
getting serious about your art.
My my background is like I'm a Vietnamese immigrant from an immigrant family. A lot of people have heard this already, but I'll reiterate on this. Happy AAPI Day kind of
Hmm.
or month kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, a lot of it is you're from an immigrant family. Yeah, you kind of immigrant to Canada. I was like 6 years old when I first came to Canada. I grew up like in a northern town. A kid um, playing hockey, rugby in the summer. All this other stuff like
Right.
every you know, and I drew a lot because there was this is 80 something, like
Sure.
80, yeah, right. So I grew up a kid of the 80, and that's pre-internet, pre.
Right. Right. Hey, I think we can both relate there. But
Yeah, like we'd come like we'd come home and our parents aren't home. We let ourselves in. We do
right.
whatever. Right? As long as we're home before the street light goes on, then
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
um yeah, like that's where I grew up, and it was a small town in northern Ontario, and
Okay.
there was a local variety store. There was always that one corner, right?
Right.
And I got into comics because everything was in like a blind bag, on the
Oh,
spinner rack.
yeah.
And you go in, and I think it was like 50 cents for a bag, and you get like 4 or 5 comics, right?
Right.
Which is random. Then there was like another 25 cents for a pack of hockey cards or
Yeah.
something like
Stretch
that.
that dollar out as hard as you could.
Exactly. Another 25 cents for like a chocolate bar or
Right.
milkshake or whatever, a slushy or whatever the situation would be. Right. And that's what we did. Me and my friend, as a kid, we would just hang out there like all the time in front,
Sure. Sure.
that was the only thing. Right.
Right.
And we would read comics and trade it. One person buy a bag, we buy a bag, rip that open. Then a few times we got caught for trying to peel the bag to look at what issue because we already have it. We
Right.
because it
You
was
don't want to
blind.
repeat.
Exactly. So I kind of fell in love with comics that way, and I was tracing the book. I ran into a
Yeah.
lot of this. All the great artists back then. When Wonder Woman came out, then eventually the town got bigger because the Honda plant moved in,
Oh yeah. Right
right?
on.
And the town got bigger, and it just boomed. And like an LCS showed up, a comic book
Wow.
store showed up, and this was like, right.
Right. Finally, something real.
Something real,
Yeah.
right? And by that time I think I was like 14, 15 years old by that
Yeah.
time, and there was a McDonald that showed up, right?
Oh wow. In a small
That was a
town, that's
big thing.
huge.
Yeah, that was huge, right? It was
Yeah.
huge for a small town, right?
Yeah.
So that was the thing. I remember, like, McDonald's was like, walk in, people would smoke. Well, like,
Yeah. It was look, they still had growing up. I remember ashtrays at McDonald's. I
yeah,
mean, like
the
you would
tin
go
one.
in
I
and
would
they would
put all
just
my
have the little
ketchup on
tin.
it.
Yeah. And I was like that. I was never, I mean, I grew up in Richmond. That's the heart of Philip Morris where they made cigarettes.
That's right.
They had an
Exactly.
ashtray everywhere, so I get
Right?
that. Yeah, I get that.
Remember the little tin one from McDonald's? We'd
Yeah,
use that to fill our ketchups.
ketchup. I don't know if I do that. Those things were nasty where I grew up. They were used a lot.
Oh
But
no, these
no,
were they would have them out new on the table, right?
I
And
can
like that.
remember. I can remember the Frank Miller cover of Daredevil, where Daredevil has a sigh going, or Elektra has a sigh going through Daredevil's mask. I
Yeah,
remember tracing that. I thought that was
yeah,
the most incredible cover, and I'd never traced it. I said, I'm going to trace this. I'm going to get some
yeah.
tracing paper. I can't draw, freestyle, but boy, I could trace those lines, and that's all I
Oh man,
needed. So
it was like line paper. I
yeah,
was just tracing. I was just drawing my own comic using the trace,
right.
right? And
So
that's how I learned to draw, was just hours and hours of that, because there was like the library had no drawing books. This was a
really,
small public
yeah,
library. You know what I mean? This is a
I,
small town at the time,
sure,
right? And the library was like literally next to the sheriff apart and there's a
yeah.
prison there, right? Like there's
Right.
like
It was
five,
all
10 cells.
encompassed in one building.
That's right,
Yeah.
right.
You can go to library, jail,
That's
or
right.
the courtroom. I'll take the library, sir.
I'll take the library. Exactly. You know, I'd take my 10 speed or my
Right.
BMX down there and just throw them in front of the library, which is basically the cop cars, and they
Right.
just run in, right?
That's
And that
hilarious.
that, that was it. That's how I got into it, until the LCS came up and I started drawing, and I started drawing a bunch of stuff. Then the my LCS, the comic book guy, his name was Dave, and he bought me a How to Draw the Marvel Way,
Nice. That's a
right?
great
Because he
book.
saw me doing this right in
Right.
front of the store. They would have D&D games, and he would invite me over, and I would make like $2 or $3 drawing characters for people,
Nice.
right? And that would
Yeah.
subsidize me buying comic books in his store.
He knew that money was coming right back to him. So it didn't
Exactly.
even matter. He's a crafty Dave.
Right, and that was the best time of my life, and that's how I got into the comic book stuff. And as I grew older, I was doing more art in high school. I
Sure.
was, all the other stuff, but my parents were immigrants, so they art wasn't a thing. They wanted me to grow up, because
Yeah.
my dad was in construction, right?
Yeah.
So summertime, I'd help him out in the summer, right? I would move bags of cement for him, go
Sure.
pick up food, and all this other stuff, right? And he was a stonemason, right? He was like, we're building chimneys,
Yeah.
all the stuff, anything that has to do with stone docks and stuff, and all these small little places up north and all that
Yeah.
stuff. 6 a.m. or like 5 a.m. in the morning, driving out somewhere just to be there, mix gravel, mix sand, all this other stuff. So he wanted me to be an architect.
Yeah.
So as I graduated from school, I applied. I got in to a university in Toronto, and and I was supposed to be an architect. That was the whole deal. I went in 6 months in. Oh, I hated it so much.
Well, it's there's no life to it. You're literally just drawing.
Well, it wasn't even drawing at the time. It was more because it was first year. You're just going through theories
Right.
about lighting
Structural
and
yeah.
yeah. And it was a lot of that. And I was walking back to my place, and there was an art school just down the street. It was called the Ontario College of Art.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh
And
man. And some
and
girl
I
got your
literally-
eye, and that was it.
Yeah, I literally dropped out. Didn't tell my parents.
Oh,
went
no.
there. Oh yeah,
Dude, that's like suicide.
Yeah, I got in. Believe it or not, I had like a stack of sketchbooks. That's how I got in. Was I didn't have finished pieces, so I was drawing people on the bus, on like the
But
going
they
to
saw
school.
they saw you had talent.
They saw me I was trying to learn anatomy. I was drawing all this stuff, so I had a whole sketchbook of just random people, and they said, and this is pre-digital, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I went in, I loved it. We were doing color theories with paint, color pencils. I remember one of the exam was, the professor would give you like a random color pencil, and you got to do all the shades, right, from 10 to like all this other, right? So you had to do all that and traditional media, and I loved it. Then my parents found out, and They did not want me to go to art school to become an artist.
Yeah, let's
So
talk
they
about
said,
that for a minute, because I mean,
that is my villain story.
I mean, in all seriousness, I grew up with a gentleman. It was in my neighborhood who was also an immigrant,
Yeah.
and there was no way. I mean, like, and he loved comics too, but
Yeah.
there was no way that he would, his parents would have ever let him. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
was going to be in finance. They had
That's
already
right.
told him.
Yeah.
The only reason why they liked me is because here's this, kid in the 8th grade
Yeah.
that, I had so many hustles going on. I had so much money that they were like, how come you can't be like him? Look, he dudes, his mother really used to rail him, because
Yeah.
I used to deliver papers. I used to illegally sell candy and stuff at school. I mean, I had so much money coming in, and he'd be like, man,
Yeah.
you're making me look bad in front of my parents. But
That's
he
right.
could draw really well. But I knew it. And to think that if he'd have done that, they'd have killed him.
Yeah. Yeah.
His mother would
Yeah.
have.
I remember when they pulled me out the whole summer, my mom and dad were on me like all
Yeah.
the time. You got to do something with your life. You can't be
Right.
doing art, blah, 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 blah. So then a new school kind of showed up. And at the time, this was 89, 88 around there. And
Sure.
they were like, it was DeVry, Institute of Technology.
Right on.
It was about computers. And I thought maybe I'm going to get into it. I'm going to fix photocopiers and fax machine. Those were the thing, right?
Right.
The IBM guys that fix.
No, it was, but it appeased your parents enough.
It appeased my parents. It
Right.
was so I went in for electronic engineering.
Yeah.
Literally got out, and it was 92 by the time I got out, and that was when the internet boom took off.
Yeah.
Right. That's where Amazon was starting to grow. Like, these internet companies were like millions of dollars were being, IPOs and stuff like that.
Sure.
And as I was in school, IBM came in and looked at our grade and go, you can come work for us.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And I was one of those kids, came in IBM, and they were doing something new. They were inventing or trying to invent color monitors. So for you young kids out there,
yeah,
computer monitors were gray or monochronic.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying there.
Yeah. So that's how I learned about colors and digital stuff. Then I was working there. It got a little bit more dull because I'm like, I don't know. I'm working on a bench and I got to wear a white shirt and a tie, and I'm working with soldering iron. I'm fixing boards and all this other stuff.
It was a different time back then.
It was a different time, right?
Yeah.
You had to wear a white shirt and with the badge and the ID.
Yeah, sure.
So I got really bored of that, and there was all these startups. One of those startup was called Digital Processing System. I thought they did like color printers or copiers or something.
Right.
But at the time, they were working with a company called the Amiga product, and they were building this thing called the Amiga Toaster.
Okay.
Okay, so for you kids out there, the Amiga computer at the time was like the Apple.
Right. It was Rogue.
It was the computer graphic machine of the day, right?
But it wasn't the standard. Like, IBM was the boss. And then Apple came in and was like, we're gonna be the indie startup that kicks your butt.
Yeah.
Right?
And this was the time, and that's how I got into it. What happened was they were inventing these video cards. They're called Frame Store.
Okay.
They were doing this thing with a company called New Tech in California, and they were inventing the 3D stuff.
Sure.
Right? They were doing 3D software, and they were trying to get it onto TV, and that's where I came in because I knew about the cathode ray tubes, how the color guns work, and all the chips. And so I got hired by this company, and we ended up working, and we ended up with what they call a personal animation recorder at the time, the PAR. This was ahead of its game, where it was a video card, but this long.
Yeah.
I went on a bus that was about this long, an ISA bus, right?
Yeah.
And you had to have like a hard drive about this big, and it contained like 15 megabytes, not even. But
Yeah.
that was a lot. Like,
Look, man, I mean, you know, oh my God. Looking back at those things now, I mean, like I was here for the original dial-up, bro. You had to
yeah,
dial it, put it
exactly.
on the thing, wait for
Yeah.
it to call you, and I mean, so I'm with you. Everything
Yeah.
was bigger then, and
Yep.
that's, I mean, our technology has grown to where it's like this big now, and
Yeah.
it's 10 times more powerful than anything
Yeah.
we ever had growing up.
So yeah, I mean, I got lucky because I eventually what happened was working with that,
Yeah,
they start flying me out to. I was being commissioned out to literally LA
right.
to the studios, working with these effects houses and
That
all this
sounds
other stuff.
amazing. And how
Yeah.
old were you? You were probably what,
I
20?
was by the time I was like 22, 23 years old around there.
Come on, you're living
Yeah.
the dream, bro.
It was the dream. I fell in love. I ended up working out there with these guys. We were trying to invent stuff.
Yeah.
And the first project I worked on, believe it or not, was Babylon 5.
No, I
series.
love Babylon 5. Babylon 5 was awesome. I mean, you watch it now and you're like, okay.
It was
yeah.
amazing.
But it was amazing back when it came out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, sometimes I struggle to watch it. I'm like, all right, yep, this is the best we had.
It took 10 hours to render one frame of animation. So think about that.
Jesus.
And that was top of the line animation. Everything was shiny and gray.
Right.
And
right. I mean, when they can, you know, it was just a different time. But
yeah,
you know, that's fascinating. You know, I always believe that in your history of life that, you know, a lot of people will live their life and think they didn't do a whole lot, but you really have.
yeah,
You've interacted and done a lot of things with different people, and you know, you can say, hey, you know what, we were the first group to ever do this with Babylon 5. I mean, opportunities come your way, you take advantage of it. So
the funny part was I was out there working with these guys as the tech on site.
Sure.
Right. And I was working for these effects houses, and they're always like, the studio was like, we need to do this effect, that effect, the directors and stuff. And I would be part of this group that would go away and would try to figure out how to do this.
Right.
Right. And I was responsible for the computer part of the stuff. But one day, one of the directors saw my sketchbook that I had. I was taking notes. He's flipping through my sketchbook.
Yeah.
Right. And I was still in the comics.
Yeah.
Drawing stuff. And he goes, hey, you can draw. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, ever done storyboards before? And I'm like, no, I don't know what that is. Well, we'll teach you.
Yeah.
Right. Because I knew the technical side of stuff.
Right.
So I was helping out with the second unit director, the effects, the production, and I was literally doing all this stuff with them. Then eventually they said, you know what, why don't you just move out here? Right. One of the effects supervisors says, move out here, sleep on my couch. I'll help you find a place. This is a different time, right? This is 95.
Let's see. Do I want to freeze my balls off in Canada or go to hot sunny LA where there are half-naked women still in 1995?
95, exactly.
I'll go there.
Right? So literally, I was single. I didn't have anything else. There was no other commitment.
Why
right?
not?
My parents are still here. My brother and sisters were done school. I said, yeah, dude, I'm coming out. So I came out, lived in a place called Costa Mesa in California, in Orange County.
Absolutely,
yeah. It was a different time, you know. Rent was like $500 for like a.
Yeah, but
this
that was. I mean, look, I'm trying to think. I got married in '92, and we had a crappy apartment, and it was like 300. And people were like, "Why are you living there?" I'm like, "Because I want to get a house, and rent out in the other part of town is like 800. And yes, it would be really nice, and I might not get robbed, but I'm, you know, so it's still money. I mean,
for me was I lived in a gated community, and this was Orange County.
Yeah.
Right.
They're pretty well off there in Orange County, if I
I
remember
was pretty
correctly.
well off in that area, yeah. And literally, all I had to do was cross the street. It was Newport Beach because I really
Yeah.
wanted to live there, and that was $800, and I couldn't afford it, so I lived
Right.
in the other zip code, right?
That's okay. As long as you can get there, that's all that matters.
So yeah, I ended up doing a lot of that, and things like, I remember I was just down there. I was like, at like some Vietnamese coffee shop or something like
Sure.
that, and today it was like, oh my god, I forgot, and I'm seeing guys talk about Comic-Con. Like
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
San Diego, which is like an hour and a half away from
Right.
me.
You should go to Comic-Con, right?
There's a Comic-Con happening. So I literally drove down that day, paid $25 to get in.
$25.
$5 for parking near the courthouse.
Right.
This is pre-Hall H,
Right. It was when it was still a Comic-Con, right?
It was still a Comic-Con.
It was not this, blown up movie extravaganza.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's a few comics.
Yeah, this is where I met like the great, Stan Lee and all these other guys back then, right? And they were just sitting at a table.
Right.
They were just
right. That's the way I would have loved to have had that. I mean, don't get me started. That's awesome.
Yeah, they were just, it was a lot of, it was just that day. It was like $25 to get in, right? And the lady's like, if you want, it's $45 for the whole weekend. I said, no, I just want the Saturday.
I'm just going for the day, lady. I'll get my fix and I'll leave.
Yeah, right? No, I'm like, damn it, I wish that.
You didn't know.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew what it was going to be turned into.
Yeah, that's how I got.
But you can say you went.
Yeah, I literally went almost every other year.
Yeah,
because sometimes it was because my schedule. Because I was single and I was doing effects for movies, films, and stuff. I would be 3 months of just working on a film,
right,
and 3 weeks off, and trying to hustle and find another gig somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up working with like Mattel and all these big companies down there, the Paramount Studios, and doing all these film effects and stuff like that. So it was really a small community in that area at the time.
Sure.
When filming was still filmed.
Well, yeah, but you still had to network. You still had to make friends. You still had to talk to people. Yeah. I mean, look, your skill level will take care of it. I mean, once they see what you can do, they'll be fine. But you still, hey, Bobby sent me, and they know Bobby, so they figure Bobby's cool.
Exactly. And
that type of thing. I mean, that's how I got a job, because I didn't know. I mean, I went to work for a telephone company. I didn't know anything about a telephone company, but they knew. But the guy that recommended me was, had done work with this gentleman, and he was like, I trust you. And he stuck me in that room, and I was like, holy cow. Because I was a little older than all these young people. And I mean young, I mean like fresh out of college. And I probably had like, I don't know, I think I was probably like 28, 29. And they were a little, younger. And I said, damn, I just need to be smarter than these people.
Yeah.
And that won't be hard, because I don't think any of them took any type of telephone stuff in college, So, but you had to know somebody. I didn't even know about it until he said, you should apply for this.
Yeah. It was, a lot of it was, if I worked with this creative director or effect supervisor, they know how you work, and they would like, okay, I have another project coming up.
Right.
Or so-and-so is looking for somebody like this. And that's how I got my beak wet. And eventually things like, I ended up working with like certain films like Titanic kind of stuff. I was doing, Jim Cameron wanted kind of like
Cameron was all over the place back then.
He was there. He was there. He was down in Mexico and all this stuff. So we took the product that we had, and he was shooting it digitally on a literally what our product was. You take a VHS camera.
Yeah.
You'd hook that to this card, and it will digitize it. Right. This is pre-phone, all this stuff on a 50 meg hard drive. That was
it's probably like this
480,
big.
480 was
yeah.
Right. And that was enough for him to pre-visualize the scene.
Yeah.
he would cut that night. I don't know when this guy ever sleeps, right? Because we're constantly working. He would show it to the actors in the cast because there would be stand-in, right? A few
Right.
scenes I'm just standing there. Like I got credit for a samurai movie because I'm Asian and I'm
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the background. I'm standing there holding like that's
It's okay.
part of the soldier. That was it, right?
It worked. You know.
But yeah, you know, those were they were a lot of fun. If I was
Right.
single at the time, it was a lot of fun. I worked like the weirdest hour. We were out in like the desert at 2 a.m. in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Polishing the car.
Yeah, but that's living
Right?
life, bro. That's living
Yeah,
life, you
yeah.
know.
Wait,
And so
did you show your Amy trophy yet?
Oh yeah, the
Huh?
Emmy.
Yeah.
you got an Emmy
Yeah,
for digital effects and so forth.
yeah. For the product, the personal animation recorder. It was like at the time, it was like literally from the academy. Like literally, I think we were finishing some, and a box came in to the office.
Yeah.
And we all got little certificate and said, "Hey, you guys got an Emmy." And it's like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, I know what that was. Is it going to pay me any more money?
Exactly.
No, but that's cool. I mean,
Right?
now
We
Can,
were
can you
hustling like
melt the gold? Can you melt the gold?
yeah.
you don't want to
it,
melt it.
it was pretty funny because at the time, like, okay, it was one of those like there's photos of me working with the bullet time sequence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before we were testing it and we didn't know where it was going. It was going to Australia. And
Yeah.
it was for a film called The Matrix.
Okay. Damn,
Right?
Matrix.
Yeah. The company I worked for was called Big Fish at the time, right? And they were rigging up 35 millimeter cameras on
Right.
this long bar that they would bend and stretch. And at the end of each endpoint, there would be like a film camera, like that would spin.
Right.
So, the accident scene would drop like a basketball with like lines on it, and everybody would focus on that.
Right.
So everything was fired on the trigger, right? So you trigger that, all the camera fires all at once. And the film camera at each end would spin like 1,000 feet per second kind of thing,
Wow.
right? And that's how, and you literally, I would sit there with Photoshop and it would literally stitch and align each frame.
Each frame. That's crazy.
Right?
That's a
And
lot
that's
of
how
work.
you get the stop freeze moment for the
Yeah.
stuff, right? And yeah, it was a lot of fun at the time because we were inventing stuff, right?
Yeah.
I got involved with matte paintings, and because there wasn't a title for us,
Right.
we were the art department,
Right.
we're the studio, right?
I'm shocked. I figured that would fall under like video editing or something, but I guess not.
It was at the time it was something new because
Yeah.
green screen was still being invented. It wasn't
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
No.
that was something new. We're trying to figure out chroma key, what was the color and all this other stuff. There was science behind it, right?
Right.
Somebody's mixing colors and all this stuff, was testing it. Because back then, things were done where we would mask out the character, right? Or shoot
Mhm.
everything on a piece of glass, right? So it's forced. So I would paint on a piece of glass, right? And the people would be
Okay.
back here somewhere, and the camera will be in front, and that's how you do your space scenes, right?
Man, that's crazy.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I don't want to stop you because I feel like this is exciting, but I want to keep moving forward with getting to the point where we can talk about how you really went
like
deep into
a lot
the
of
art.
it never left. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I still drew. I still did a lot of this stuff.
Right.
Eventually, I got older, met my wife. We got
Women,
married.
they bring you down, bro. They take your dreams away.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly, right? And
We
it
love
got to a
them,
point where it's like, yeah, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And this was pre-crash in 2008, right?
Well, I was getting ready to say, yeah.
Yeah.
When was it?
It was like 2005 when I actually, because we were gonna have our first kid, and I had like Blue Shield and all this stuff, and it was just way too expensive to have a kid in the States.
Yeah.
Right? Insurance was just getting out of, like, it was weird because all of a sudden all the coverage I had before is no longer. I have to pay like a minimum and all these weird stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm Canadian. We're gonna move back to Canada. I'll try to figure it out back then, right? and that's why we got back. And I still got into, I still did very technical engineering stuff for some of these
Yeah.
companies, but a lot of the time like on the side I would draw comics and all this stuff. And eventually, because I was still digital painting was something new at the time,
Yeah.
I was doing character concepts for Vivendi Universal, for the game companies,
All right.
for the Xbox company before then, Blizzard, and all this other stuff. And I was just painting characters and all this other stuff. And that's how I got these little side gigs here and there. But that too eventually dried up because it's a young man's game,
Right.
right? The studios were hiring people from Toronto to Montreal to around the world and all this other stuff.
Well, the game got bigger too. I
The
mean,
game got very, very bigger.
there were more
The game got
people
very bigger.
that wanted to do what you had been doing. It's amazing that you started probably at the critical point of where it all began, and
Yeah.
as it blew up, you knew there were going to be other people joining the fray.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a disadvantage.
It was a lot of the studio. It got to a point where people were undercutting each other.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And it got really bad because I had to lay off a bunch of people, like a lot of young artists.
Right.
And because I was in senior management by that time.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad, and I didn't like that. Right. Getting promoted is kind of cool. You get higher pay and all this other stuff, but you're doing less art. You're managing people. You're managing stuff, right? And eventually I moved back to Toronto, did whatever I can. I do gigs here and there and the whole bit, but I still do art, right? Then, because one of my contact was with Upper Deck, I was helping them paint and develop game system like Magic the Gathering kind of idea.
Okay.
They had these ideas. They would send me files and they would say, from a creator of some sort, that can you paint these 6 cards digitally for us, and we can do gameplays with it, and design the characters and all this stuff. And I would do that for them. But again, it got that kind of gig dried up because they're in California and I'm in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right. And it's always I'm 3 hours ahead, and
sure,
the meetings were a little off, and they wanted somebody in the office. They wanted somebody closer.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. And, eventually one of them was like, hey, do you want to do sketch cards? I'm like, what are sketch cards?
You got to draw really tiny.
You got literally, yes, right? And we got this thing from Marvel and these, Marvel, and you draw like Marvel characters and stuff. And I kind of brushed it off for the longest time, right? And because I had Marvel cards, the 92 ones,
sure,
yeah, those kind of stuff, and I kind of brushed it off because they were paying, I think at the time it was like $5 a card, right? And I was like, it wasn't worth it, that kind of stuff. But eventually it got to a point where I got desperate and said, yeah, send me the sketch cards.
Yeah. I mean,
for like the past 2 years, I was drawing like crazy all these sketch cards, but I can't announce it until they announced it.
Right. That's what
I had all these products for Upper Deck that was ready to go. Then they lost the license.
Wow.
Right? They lost the license, and the only one card was announced. 1 or 2 cards was announced that was released. That was last minute. I think that was December something.
Yeah.
By a certain date, they have to release it. They already had it in production. They just got to release it, right?
Right.
Because the following day was no more, right? So Upper Deck released the Spider-Man rendition series, and finally I got one of the card. But at that same time, Topps was like, "Hey, we knew you drew for Upper Deck. You want to do stuff for us?" And I said, "Sure." And for the past 2 years, I've been drawing for them too, or year and a half. And you'll see it on my Instagram, like a lot of releases, right? But those are like done years, like a year and a half ago.
Right.
It's not like I did it that day, right?
This wasn't done yesterday, people.
Yeah. So that's once you see like on my Instagram when I post a whole series of them, that was done like 6 months ago or 8 months ago or 9 months ago.
But you have to wait until they release it, though.
Yeah,
I get that. I mean, I think everybody understands.
Like they announced pre-order for the Star Wars Masterwork, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I did that set. So I'm waiting for them to release that date. And I think that's June 1st or something like that.
Man,
Yeah,
do they not know? Does marketing not know anything? Should have been yesterday or
exactly.
today. I mean,
Exactly.
do these people not get the damn references?
They announced the pre-release like literally on May 4th, right?
Yeah.
On that day, you can pre-order it.
You can pre-order it, okay.
Yeah, right. But still, it's not the same, right?
No, to me, that would have been the release day.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so
But those kind of there's like I got like a ton of other Marvel stuff,
good.
right? So that's how I got into the art stuff. That at the same time I was doing when I was back here, I was doing conventions. I was doing a lot of conventions.
That was my next question. I mean,
Yeah.
were you able to table at conventions? And do you think? I mean, and I can't. I mean, I don't know. Each convention I would think is different based on the scale and how much the cost is to an artist to get a table. Can be, I mean, you hear it from the comic vendors all the time. They're like, "Oh, listen, I paid like $3,000 for this booth, and I have to, sell this many comics just to pay for the booth."
Yeah.
So there is a business aspect to it, where even as an artist, you don't want to acknowledge it, but hey, I paid $200 to have this table, so I need to knock out at least 4 sketches, or somebody needs to buy some existing stuff.
It was the first time when I was doing convention. I think it was 2008 or 2009, around that time, and that was when the economy was just swing.
Yeah, everything was going down.
Table for cons were really cheap at the time. They were $150, $200. Not even the 200 was a little extreme at that time, right?
Yeah.
Because people weren't spending the money for those shows, right? So I got in a little bit early. Nobody knew who I was, all that stuff. So I started meeting up with creators at these shows, right? I bring my card and, here's my Instagram website. This is what I draw. I was posting, when I first bought my first set of Copic markers and stuff, I decided to give myself I had to learn how to render with markers. Like anything I do, like as an artist, it is a what do you call it? You do need to put in the work, right? It's a discipline.
Sure.
Right. So if you want to get good at anything, you would put in the work for it, right? Yeah, that is the last Star Trek cover I did for IDW, right?
Nice.
So yeah, actually, I didn't do it. I colored it. That is a Dan Day cover, right? So Dan inked that and the whole bit. There you go. Legendary Dan Day, right? He did Venom, Batman. He did all sorts of little things back in the day, right?
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, just that's how I got involved with the covers and stuff like that. Was literally I was just saying to creator, and I said, hey, let me draw you a variant cover for your next Kickstarter.
Sure.
Right? Why don't you give me 5 books instead of paying me, right? My fee. Give me 5 copies of the book and I'll put on my table that help promote your stuff and blah, blah, blah. And that's how I worked out the deal. And I ended up creating a lot of variant covers for all these creators. Because I was bringing like my storytelling technique to the to these covers, because a lot of the covers were very, it was all homage to Hulk. Was it 181?
181 or Spider-Man or something? Yeah, sure.
Right. A lot of people were trying to do homage of that, and I figured, you know what, just give me a cover. I'll make sure it's bright. I usually draw it digitally. Give them the digital file with all the and I said, give me the and I'll do all the layouts for you. Hand it over with all the aspects and stuff, right? And that's how I got involved. And eventually, as you get better and better, and people started to notice, and I was doing, because I had connection with stuff, I started coloring for Mark McKean. He did the Deadpool Batman series back then, that kind of stuff. Then, I got involved with some of the older creators and stuff. Ty Templeton, I met him at a show and he said, yeah, come on over to my place. The guy's in Toronto here, right? So I'm in Toronto now. A lot of these creators like Mike Ruth and all that stuff. And we kind of ended up doing like a a drink and draw, right? Meet at the pub, kind of network, and said, "Hey, yeah, you want to do a cover for me? You want to do because they're busy with their deadline because
Right.
it's a grind.
Ooh,
Like doing
woohoo,
panels
I like that.
is a grind, right?
Well, and I mean, um, I've spoken with Mike Ruth through Gary B, because
Yeah,
Gary B,
yeah,
all
that's
hail
right.
Gary B, is the
Yeah,
man of Conan, and Mike Ruth is also the man of Conan. So they're like, he said that essentially the same thing. It's a
yeah,
discipline. I mean, every day you have to
yeah,
practice. You cannot sit there and go, I'm not going to mess with it for 6 months. No,
yeah.
no, that skill has to be there.
That
And
exactly.
so I get it. I understand that. And I think that was genius that you said, hey, let me just do a variant cover, but give me books, because
Yep.
that didn't cost them anything.
It doesn't cost them anything. What it does, it exposes you to the other creator, and
Right.
and and a lot of it was a lot of the indie creators start seeing a lot of my work, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, at these I'm looking around, and as somebody who has a computer engineering background, I looked at things very analytical. I
Sure.
looked at, and it's like, okay, well, his setup is kind of wrong. So I played with my setups, right? I played at the cons where I was like, okay, I painted this Pikachu piece and the Nintendo people liked it. They approached me, they paid me a couple $1,000s. And
Yeah.
even though they didn't have to, they could have said cease and desist,
Right.
right? They paid me a couple $1,000s. I gave them the file. It's their right? I can't,
Right.
like they said, you can sell prints of these at the show, but we do not want to be able to see these on stickers, mugs, T-shirts,
Right.
because that is our thing, right?
Right. And it's called
So
copyright infringement, people. It's a big
yeah,
no.
yeah, exactly, right. And I said, okay, fine, that's great. At least, right?
Right.
You can go to Walmart and you can actually see some of the pictures that's on lunch boxes at the time if they still sell lunch boxes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so that's where thing comes into play, and it kind of snowballed from there, and eventually, because I was starting my con, I was figuring out things like, okay, where do I put things where if I buy a corner table, right?
Yeah.
A corner table usually asks you like an extra $100 more and that kind of stuff. And I end up working with other artists, other well-known artists, and say, hey, can we kind of like buy like a booth together?
Right.
But sometimes some of these fan expo stuff is just ridiculous, right?
Sure.
Like for Artist Alley, you might get 3 feet for $600, but if
Yeah.
you spend $1,000, you can get a 10 by 10 booth, right? But if you split that with 4 guys, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's $500,
Yeah.
right? So those were the idea. Then eventually, I ended up being guest at conventions, so I don't have to pay for a table,
Right.
right? So Niagara Falls Comic Con, I was doing like a color cover for like Mark McKean and some of these guys, Dan Day, and I
Yeah.
would be invited. Like IDW would invite me to, you know what I mean? So that helps out a lot, and you kind of get your name out for a lot of the stuff, right? But
Sure.
again, it's variant cover is one of those things where I can't compete with some of the young guys, like Peach Momoko and some of the ladies and stuff like that, right? They they got a little bit. Mike Ruth has been in the industry for a long time. I'm shocked that he doesn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that. That's the same thing. Like out of the blue, Scotty Young, right?
Well, I think,
Grew up. Yeah.
it's one of these things that's always fascinated me, because when I was, a young person, what I always looked at a comic more for the art. The
Yeah.
story to me was fine. It was always secondary, though.
Yeah.
Whereas my brother it's got to have a good story to keep him occupied with reading it, but not
Right.
me, because I could sit, if the art was there and you were good at it, I could understand what was going on without reading it, because I
Right.
was never a big reader, because I had, and they didn't. It was just the way I interpreted it. So
Yeah.
if you didn't, and I was, there was just some artists that, as a kid, didn't. It was either too cartoony or it was too dark. You know, like they would shade everything, and I'm like, you didn't put any effort into that, bro. That's not even a forest. What is that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they would draw the main character and then just put a lot of black behind it. I'm like,
Yeah.
so it amazes me when some of these guys today just pop off, because some of it I'm like, really? Is that to me? I love, like, don't get me wrong, yeah, I'm a stick figure guy, so I have mad respect for, if you can get out there and do it and make your money, great. I'm happy for you. But I believe, like, like you said, Peach Momoko.
Yeah.
She's hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
I don't think that Peach Momoko could draw a Transformers book well.
Yeah.
But her X-Men Demon Days was, her covers were amazing.
Yeah.
And so they fit to a degree.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is I think we're killing ourselves with variant covers.
Oh yeah, are you kidding?
It feels like it's the '90s again for me. When all the different covers from Death of Superman to all the Spider-Man #1 reboot, the Todd McFarlane Silver, Gold,
right,
Platinum,
whatever. Look at, Absolute Batman 20 or whatever it's coming out has like 100 and some variant covers.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That's insane. But I guess we have to look at it as, hey, there could be a Loc Nguyen cover. I mean, that also gives you opportunity to, even if it's just to do a cover instead of the whole book, who cares? That's money.
I mean, at this, it's one of those where I feel like sometimes if I do one of those, I feel bad for the guys who's grinding away on the inside of the book.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean,
because I know how that feels. I've done that grind, and it's
right.
not fun. It's not fun at all.
But it's also, that might be their first book, and they want to make, they don't even care, because they've got a regular steady gig. They know they're going to get 12 issues or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody comes and says we're cutting it off at 4 because it's not making any money. So
look at this.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Your card sold for $1,680.
Yeah, some of the cards for a couple $3,000. All this other stuff. Yeah, it's part of a set, right? I'm trying to get $100 out of people just to commission from me.
But I guess but was that so that's an original piece though, right?
That is a 1-of-1 for the Batman metal from Upper Deck of 2025. That was I think a January release.
Yeah.
And that I did like literally 3 years ago.
And how many?
I don't even remember it until they announced it, because I thought, like, I got paid for the cards, period. It's just that what happens is if the deck gets released, right, it goes in a box. So it goes into, something like, it goes into something like this.
Okay. And let me ask you, what's that? What do you think that runs?
This one here is the rendition, and I think this is $250, $300 for a box.
So I'm gonna. The reason why I'm bringing this up to Naman and you guys is, like, you don't know how many this guy bought. He might have bought like 10 of those.
Exactly.
And he's trying to get his.
That is a 1-of-1.
He's trying to get his money back.
Yeah.
He says, "Look, I had to buy 10 boxes at $200 a piece, and I'm already $2,000 in the hole, and I'm not even getting. I got to make some of this money back."
Yeah,
that's why they put those prices on. People put different prices for different reasons.
Yeah.
Not to say that yours isn't worth it, my friend, but I guarantee you that's the thought process. Is I bought 10 of those. That's beautiful.
A lot of the time, it is that it's just basically the collector's market doing the collector's market thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
that's what that is. And a lot of us artists believe it or not, we only get paid like $15 a card.
Yeah.
And this is from Marvel. Marvel has the tendency to go, take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care. They'll find somebody else. There's
going to be hundreds of kids right behind me who's willing to jump onto this.
Yeah.
Right. I'm personally myself, and a lot of my artist friends who does this for the past 5 years, are slowing down. We like as we age, our eyes. I mean, I need these magnifying glasses now just to to
Right.
draw on these
Sure.
cards, right? But as we get older, we're slowing down because we can't churn out. I mean, the minimum at the time was when you first sign up, when they hire you, they give you 20 cards. They give you 3 months to do 20 cards. They want to see how fast you can turn this around.
Right.
Can you follow direction? Can you,
Sorry,
turn
I
in,
love that one.
yeah.
right? These were a couple years ago. Wait until you see, my skill level drawing this is more confident. I got,
Oh, that's pretty good.
it's gotten better and better and better and better because, I figured out how to do the material, the paper type. That's really what that is, right?
Right.
Because you get these paper from these companies where they're trying to,
Ooh.
they're cutting it really close, right?
They're trying to save money.
Yeah.
And they're not giving you the best quality.
They're not, right? They're not. But I have to coat them with a fixative of some sort on top so they don't fade over time. And I want to give all the collectors out there something, because I know as a collector myself, I want to be able to hold on to something it's going to last, right? And a lot of it is like that. So, but yeah, it's a weird industry to get into.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there who wants to get into this, just hit me up on Instagram. I can give you the submission URL, right? You can pick a title. If you're going to draw Star Wars, draw 4 items, your best work possible.
Yeah.
It has to be on 2.5 by 3.5.
Yeah, it's like this big. Yeah, it's nothing.
Exactly, right?
But
you submit that. Then if you get onboarded, that means that they interview. Basically, they'll send you paperwork, and it's like a tax form, right? You got to fill out, dot all the I's, the T's, and stuff. You just can't be some anonymous guy. And it is a business, like any artist that gets into this. If you want to work for Marvel, you got to be disciplined. If you have deadlines, you got to finish those deadlines. You just can't, right?
Yeah, they won't let you work anymore if you don't. I can tell you that.
Yeah, because it affects them, because everything's a machine, right? People think, oh, okay, if I get the draw for Marvel, it's one of those things where, while Marvel sends you a script and 2 or 3 months ahead of schedule, you literally have like a month, not even, to pencil, possibly ink, right? And turn those pages in. But, nowadays they want everything digital, right?
Right.
And digital is a lot less timeline. You're turning this stuff in right away because it has to go to the colorist, right? The colorist got 2 weeks, right? Then the letterer, then the graphics guy who lays it out, and it got to go to printing and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
the marketing, the preview magazines, all this other items that you kind of, end up with. So yeah, it like anything you need to do if you want to get into this kind of field where you are working for Marvel or DC, or basically for me, it's Warner Brother, which is basically DC,
right?
That holds the license for Batman. IDW, if I'm doing a cover for them, right? A lot of the covers I do for IDW is they reach out and they go, hey, a retailer is, what do you call it? Need an artist for this series. They're willing, we show them your art and we're going to do like 500 bucks of this or that, or vice versa.
Okay.
Right. And they'll send you a contract. You fill that contract and it has a deadline on it.
Right. Biggest day.
Right. You have to submit a thumbnail or a concept by this day. Right. Then if both party approves, like the licensor, so for example, Hello Kitty or whatever, the licensor, right?
Yeah.
Comes and agree, you gotta churn, right? Like you gotta punch this out. And the quicker you can get it out to them, the quicker they can go through the process, because, it's bureaucrats at the other end that goes, it takes them a week or so, 5 days, 3 days, right?
Yeah.
To approve it. And it comes back, then everything's okay. You upload the files, and you kind of wash your hand and you got to wait, right? You got to wait until it gets, and sometimes you're waiting around and all of a sudden they said, you know what, we're not doing it anymore.
Right. We changed their mind. You know,
Yeah,
it amazes me. I heard somebody, they were interviewing, oh my God, who were they interviewing? It was it wasn't an artist, but it was a writer.
yeah,
And the guy was interviewing him and he said, yeah, it got optioned.
yep,
And so they bought it.
yep,
And then 3 years went by and nothing.
exactly.
You know, so then he finds out that the company that bought it is folding. And
Yep,
they said, and he said, hey, I want my, I want to get it back. How much do you want for it? They go, oh, we'll give it to you.
yeah,
He's like, you're giving it back. You're the original owner of the IP. You can have it back.
yeah,
And he was amazed. He was like, first of all, I thought I was going to have to buy it back, but
yeah,
they gave it back to him because they were going out of business. And they never, so it was crazy. They gave him money for something. They took it, did nothing with it. And then when they folded, they were like, here, have it back.
yeah, yeah.
And that's why they folded, because they don't know how to do business. But
There was a lot of that happens too, right?
yeah,
You get a lot of little things where I get commissions for covers and stuff like that for Kickstarter campaigns, and it would fail. That's
yeah,
part of it, right? It's part of the. I guess it's part of an artist that you're going to get more no's than yes. It
yeah.
happens, right? As long as the check clears and
Right.
everything else,
Look,
right?
I mean, I would think if you're an artist, they're paying for you to do, mock up sketch work or whatever for this Kickstarter. You're not just going to do it and then go, okay, where's my money? I
Yeah,
would think they would have to give you a percentage. But I wanted to talk a little bit out of the side of the business and back to a little bit of the art, talking about how you were saying that, hey, you're not getting any younger. And I think about this a lot with a lot of, because I'm a Bronze Age kid,
yeah,
and for me, like Ron Wilson drew the thing better than anybody on this planet, in my opinion.
yeah,
He's the man.
yeah,
But a young Ron Wilson could knock it out.
yep,
And I remember talking to him at one of the cons last year, and he's like, yeah, it takes me longer now
yeah,
because, you're just older. And I get it. But if, I guess, Mike, going back to, we were talking about 8.5 by 11, like a cover, or a
yep,
9 by 12,
yep,
which you have a lot of space to play with. What blows my mind is the sketch card being so small. And one of the things I've wanted to ask is, what do you find, like, who's a character that you're like, you know what? Okay, I can knock this one out quick, and I like drawing it. Like, give me, tell me your best characters that you like to draw because they're, for whatever reason, they're easier, or the coloring's fun, or you can manipulate the character better, and ones that you're like, oh my God, this guy wants what? Oh, this is terrible. This is going to take me, 3 months because it's terrible. It's so hard.
yeah. I believe it or not, I really do like drawing Marvel cards.
Okay.
I grew up with Marvel
Right.
characters, a lot of Marvel stuff, right? My DC stuff was always been Batman. There was nobody else. It wasn't Justice League.
Right.
Once in a while, it would be like Man of Steel, the Superman series that was it John Burns or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that?
John Byrne, Man of Steel.
Yeah. Then I as I grew up older, I start falling for Frank Miller had this weird look. He had this blocky
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
look, right? And I fell in love with that negative space until I saw Mike Mignolia's stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hellboy. And I'm like, wow, I did not know you could do this, right? With black and white and the negative. He's
Sure.
playing with that kind of stuff. I mean, and I started falling in love with all these like indie books, right? Like remember 2000 AD, Judge Dredd, all this stuff that was coming from, the heavy metal magazine, the Eerie magazine, the Savage Sword of Conan, and all this, the brushworks and stuff
Right.
like that. I fell in love with those art style because my taste gotten different going
Sure.
from Marvel, X-Men
Yeah.
of the 90s or the 80s to heavy metal, all this other stuff that was like forbidden fruit, right?
Well, I mean, there's a huge difference between George Perez and Frazetta. They're
Yeah.
just on two different levels, and
They're
they
just-
always,
yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm still always going to love George Perez because you
Yeah.
know what? That's what I grew up with. But I can respect a Frazetta because
Yeah.
I know what it takes to make that.
Exactly. Right.
And that's where you're like, wow.
Yeah.
you know.
So yeah, I mean, I love that. a lot of it when I'm coming to the Marvel stuff is I take on a lot of set the last few years. Like I would take on 2 or 3 set at a time,
Oh wow. Okay.
right? You have to remember they give you 3 months,
Sure.
right? They send out an invite and they say, "Hey, unless it's specifically for a certain set, right?"
Yeah.
Like the last set I did was they only wanted 10 cards from me. That is it.
Yeah.
They want
Okay.
my top 10 and they gave me the character, right?
There you go.
And so they gave me a lot of time, but I literally went in. I said, "Oh my god, it's Magneto, right? Right? I
Right.
got villains. I got Darkseid. Is it not Darkseid? Apocalypse.
I want
right?
this one.
Like
I want
the
this one.
villains are more fun to draw.
Somebody already
Because-
has it, Naman. It's
Right?
not
I
yours.
want that one.
He,
I want that one.
He gave it to somebody else.
I
want that
don't
one.
have it.
He
No,
doesn't
but a
own
lot
it.
of these are sets, right? You got to buy them off of eBay or off.
Yeah,
of
go find them on eBay, Naman.
Yeah, somebody already pulled it. Somebody pulled it.
I
already.
ain't paying $1,600. I'm sorry. I know I like you. Look.
So, but that goes back to my point is like, there's just some people that you talk to some artists and they're like, yeah, man, I can't do that guy. I can't draw. Like, there's some artists that are like, you know what? Not a transformer drawer. It's just too technical. And then
Yeah.
there's other that like, that's exactly their wheelhouse. And that's kind of what I was alluding to is like, can you tell me a character in the past, especially on the cards that you're like, yeah, I can knock this out. And it doesn't even, I'm not going to need 3 months because I already know how I'm going to set it up,
Yeah, a lot of it was that's really what that is. It's the Marvel characters themselves. I can knock out like the easiest character to draw, believe it or not, is Venom.
Well, sure.
Right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Venom, Carnage, any of these what do you call it? Venomized characters, right?
Okay.
They're the easiest because you don't have to follow anatomy.
Right.
Their shape changes.
They're gloopity gloops.
That's right. The hardest character to draw for me, right, who comes from traditional drawing anatomy and proportion and stuff, believe it or not, it's Spider-Man.
Really? Because you have to use because there's muscles everywhere, I guess. Yeah.
He's just one of those characters where his leg does not supposed to be there. There's no way his leg is supposed to be in that weird, right?
It's like,
but it works. It works, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those where if I drew, like I remember painting a variant cover of Spider-Man with I think the Green Goblin, right?
Yeah.
So I had to draw him with this weird leg thing, and his legs are always longer, and I always tend to try to shrink that down.
Right.
But because he's swinging in the air, for some reason it always worked. But it always, every time I look at it, I cringe at it because I know that is not human anatomy.
Right. Well, I find it fascinating that, the last con I went to, I gave 3 or 4 books out. And one of them was to a gentleman named Jason Keith. And Jason Keith did like the Red Hulk when the Red Hulk was big. And so I went to him and I said, here's an X-Men book. And he's like, he thought, oh, do you want me to draw Wolverine? Because Wolverine, he had to draw a lot of Wolverine for that as well. And I said, no. You're going to draw, I said, I want you to draw Havoc, but I want the 90s Havoc. Yeah. And he was like, all right. It was a challenge for him. Yeah. Like when I went and picked it up, he's like, dude, you don't know how many times I erased this and then redrew it. Yeah. Because he wanted it. He's like, I wanted this perfect because, Havoc you can't just draw Havoc and not have that huge circle going around it with his powers coming out.
That's right. Yeah.
And he liked it. He said, I appreciate you letting me draw something that was not in my wheelhouse. It made me work harder. And he liked, that aspect of it. So, and I like to do that. I like to find an artist to go, yeah, you've drawn Spider-Man enough. How about you draw me Captain America, or something like that.
I like, believe it or not, a lot of us do like those challenges
Well, yeah,
because
because it forces you to, I don't know, think about other
it's
ways of doing things.
it's also like as an artist, we want to grow as an artist. We're challenging ourselves all the time,
Yeah.
right? If you're drawing interior, you've never drawn cars before, you're going to be drawing cars for a long time. You can't work out feet, right?
Right.
Like Mr. Liefeld there,
Right.
right? Back in the 90s, he could work out feet now, right? But I mean, it took him 35 years to work out feet. Now he's still got to work on abs and
Right.
muscle portions and stuff like that. But he did his time. He did his time, right?
I'm sorry, I can never get used to that Captain America chest. I
I
cannot.
know, but he's taken a lot of flack for it. I understand that, right? But he was 19 at the time.
Yeah,
He
It's
had more money than you and I will ever see.
right. I don't, I mean, if you're doing what you love and you're making a living, that's all that matters. So,
That's all that
yeah,
matters, right?
Naman, we're
But
just
like,
rambling on. So please tell us when you're ready to go.
yeah,
yeah. Hey, I want to do a little duck race,
Okay.
uh, and yeah. So, uh, here's what I got in the duck race, guys. But before I go into duck race, I want to people. There are more people out there. It seems like so far. I have Nowhere Bound, Brian LCS, Ron, Ben Compton, and this is for Loc's sketch cover, right, Loc?
sure.
All right.
You just got to
Well,
pick
you
one.
gonna that's one of the can Digger Jam be in this race?
No, 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 no.
No.
I'll I'll
No.
I'll deal with Look myself.
Okay. All right. So that's really this is really the is that Ben
Then
Compton's ready.
yeah, you
Ben
got
Compton.
four. Let it rip.
Yeah.
You
All
don't
right.
need. You don't have 1,000. You only got four. So they got a 1 in 4 chance of winning some amazing art, or
All right.
whatever sketch cover, whatever the heck you're doing.
Yeah, you have a what I'm doing. What I'm doing.
You're hitting.
Am I doing something?
You're hitting done.
No, I haven't done yet. I do want to say, do you have a sketch cover you can show off? You say?
He's got a blank. Oh wow! Look at that. There you go. Ha cha cha, ha cha cha. Look at that booty, people. Ha cha cha, ha cha
Oh,
cha. Oh, no booty, but cool Batman. And the penguin.
yabba
I
dabba
mean,
da.
yeah, and the penguin. That's amazing. Oh yeah, monsters, man.
I was yelling
Uh,
at Mark Spear about how bad the cover was, the paper was.
He probably didn't even
Oh,
have no
there we go.
control over it.
Woohoo! I like that one.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm telling you right now, I may have to get into this now that I see what the prize is. Make it 1 in 5. Put my name in there, damn it. I mean, nah, I'm just kidding. I'm hosting, so that doesn't the host doesn't go in. But Loc and I are
Run.
gonna need to talk. That's cool. I had that Capullo book, that the Capullo piece that he did of that character, and I gave it to it was in a 9/8, and I gave it to C3.
Oh
I loved the
no!
cover, but I was like, you know what? I'm giving this a C3. You
Yeah,
gotta sometimes you gotta give away some of that good stuff.
yeah. I painted that.
Anyway,
Yeah.
here's a. I want to show you this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet can be found in my post on my YouTube channel and a whole bunch of other guys. I hope. Anyway, today you also won a duck just for coming by and commenting. Nowhere Bang got a 2 duck because his interaction was a little more intensive than others. So I'll give him the 2 duck. But these are some of the people who want some ducks today uh, on a Loc stream right here.
Okay.
This is so. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the duck race and say done. All right, Digger Jim.
Let's roll.
All right. I'm gonna give it a 15 second, 30 second, 30 second. Set. How many shuffle?
Just one. That'll work.
All right. All right. All right.
Rip.
Ready, set, go.
Go. Batman.
Oh no, they're so neck and neck.
They're so neck and neck. I think it's rigged.
BD Compton's falling behind, but he's coming up ahead. Oh no.
Oh no.
Brian LCS is falling behind, but that doesn't mean anything. He could come up ahead. You never know.
Somebody's coming back.
Oh, Brian's up.
Brian.
Oh,
no.
Ron's got his tail. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Congrats, Brian.
Brian LCS for the win. Dun, dun, dun.
Brian LCS. Oops, that's not what you want to see. That's not what you want to see.
All right. Is Brian still in the chat though?
Yeah.
I should have given people that was in the chat extra duck, but oh well. Next time. All right. Congratulations, Brian. Actually, I'm going to be on Brian's channel. I am going to be on Brian's channel. Talking about the AAPI and all that good stuff. So that's good.
Nice.
Diggle Jam, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Let's turn this off.
Thank you guys.
And let's give us an equal face here. Round one, arm wrestle with Brian. Well, good luck with that.
Listen, guys, remember to check. You can always message Loc on Mad Monkey Love on Instagram and purchase one. He appreciates giving one away, but purchasing one is even better.
Boxes of blanks.
And he will draw one to your liking. You don't have to do one he just showed, So as a person that, I love to do that as that's become more like what I'm trying to figure out right now for heroes is who I can, do I want to get either a sketch cover or I think a lot of it's going to end up being like 9x12s or something like that. I'm going to end up filling up one of these. I've got these books over here and it's just, sometimes it's easier to get a sketch cover and sometimes it's, so.
Yeah. Or I'm finding out original art is selling a lot more due to the one-of-one collectabilities.
For me, that's what I love.
It's very personal too.
Yeah.
And before, at these cons, I was just selling prints.
Yeah.
Hey, look. Do you charge more for the? I imagine you charge more for the wraparound cover.
I just do wraparound, or I just hide something in the back sometimes for a lot of the stuff. I used to charge more for it, but I know how prices has gotten up for everybody and stuff.
Oh, really?
Well,
So
what do you think? Gas at $5.
Yeah, don't get me started on gas.
People aren't spending money,
right?
Like, you know what I mean? And it's getting harder for everybody. And as an artist, we want to survive too. And I know how big my name is in the sketch card market, right? And I'm trying to keep my price under $100 as much as I can. I'm providing premium stuff, right? So I'm providing, like my own custom case and all this other stuff that, the card comes in. And these are hand designed and all the other stuff, right? But at the same time, it's
look at this right here.
Everything comes in a slab. There you go. Right.
Look at that quality right there.
Yeah.
It's
all hand drawn. There you go. Yeah.
It's just that's just and then he put my name in there for me.
Yeah.
We assume that. We don't know if that's real though.
That's right.
I can't read Chinese.
Hey, I'm not scamming you guys. This is for real. This is my... not man, not
It
man.
says nonsense in Chinese.
Nonsense, right? You wouldn't know.
Scammy nonsense.
We're just messing with you.
How
Well,
much are they?
I mean, me personally, I love the cards, and I would definitely get some cards, but I'm always a big believer in like trying to see what an artist can do with a blank cover.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know, lately here though, I've been like, I'll go to a con and I'll be like, holy cow, I have, you know, and it's not a cover, it's like a, you know, weird 8 by 12 or 9 by 12 or a 10 by whatever, and I get, you know, I don't even care. I just
yeah.
want it because it's just beautiful, you know, and that's what I did at Baltimore. You know, all this was originally paint, and it's all paint. Some of it's not even all about pen and ink. It's paint. Yeah, look at that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all painted, right? So a lot of these were, you know,
Yeah. So,
I'm
but you
surprised.
know, I'm just saying, if I get something from you, I'm gonna say let's put it on a comic cover because we can ship that easier than we can a big, you know,
A
thing
big
like that.
painting, yeah.
Yeah,
A
I
big
don't want
painting,
that
right?
being crushed on the way
Like
to come.
as artists, we love like getting back. Like I'm getting back into paintings. I've been painting a lot of the stuff. Um, I'm hoping later on that I can announce that maybe I have a set of paintings for a Marvel set that's coming up, which would be like awesome
Yeah,
kind of stuff. And you know, they want 9 by 12 paintings, right?
yeah,
Um, and you know, I get to scan those. The file goes directly to them. They do whatever they do with the refractors and all this other stuff, and it becomes one of those sets, right?
that would be nice.
And that's what a lot of us are doing, right? We're trying to see because we're finding out that selling prints at show is kind of cool. That's how we make our table back real quick. But people are running out of space for prints,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Well, it
When but
loses its luster, you know,
Hey,
unless it's
yeah,
something really original, it loses its luster.
yeah.
contact Loc at Man Monkey Love on IG
Yeah.
and tell him the non-man sent you, and he'll give you automatic discount. I guarantee you.
Look, they did. Ben did just ask. I think he was referring to what is your average price on doing a cover, like the ones you showed.
A lot of these were like because a lot of the time when I sell them, like for example, this is like full on stuff. This is about $150 when I sell them at a con.
Which is
But
exactly what I was going to say. At
yeah,
least 150. It's
yeah,
colored. I've paid 100 for stuff that wasn't even colored.
yeah. But you know you're getting some of it from the well known artists too, and they're there at the show, right? Like I would love to get something from a Frank Cho, which I have right there, but that's $3,000, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No, Frank Cho's out of my price range.
That is one of those things where you know I bit the bullet at the time,
Right.
and you know I was making a little bit more, and I just need it because you know he's one of my idols, right? And he did
Yeah.
something with these pens that you know even though it's a print, but the pen on top of the print is all him, right?
Right.
Which is like you can't go wrong with that, right?
No, no, no. But
The
that's
I
a
had
reason.
a I had a Mike Grill. He charged me $250 for pencil drawing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's beautiful. And I don't have an original Mike Grail.
yeah,
So, you know, and you know what? I don't know if he's going to be back.
yeah.
You know, he's not a young man. And he was supposed to be, I think, at Heroes last year, and I don't think he was there.
Oh no.
So you might have, you know, one of the last pieces he's done in a while. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody talk about him in a while. But I would have loved to have gotten the original sketch from him. Definitely one of the ones where it was like a Legion of Superheroes character or somebody. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Because
The other entry point for anybody who's out there who's listening is if you want to get into original art and you can't afford a sketch cover right now or stuff like that, get a sketch card.
Yeah.
Get a sketch card. Most artists were willing to do these for less than $100.
Yeah.
Right? They're quick sketches. Some of them will give you full color and other stuff for other artists because That's how you get. And it's easy to store. That's another thing.
Right.
It's easy to store. Right?
Okay. So this was a guy at Heroes named Donovan Hall. He's just an artist.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, look at that. Where's my camera? Look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
amazing.
That was $25.
Yep.
Because he wants to get his name out there, and he was really good. And he put his little card on the back, and you know, but yeah, I don't, you know, I think you're right on point with saying that, that's a good opportunity to get into something like
that. If it doesn't have to be a sketch card, it could be a 4x6 card too.
True.
Or a 5x7, right? You pay a little bit more for those, but I think it's easier for the older artists to do 5x7, or if you do bring your own sketch cover, that cuts on the cost.
Well, right? And that's what I did. I brought all my own covers to him and said, "Hey, can you put this on there?" Yeah. And they didn't cut me any cost there, but that was okay. Yeah. I didn't care. I knew what I was paying for. I agreed to I paid. There's a guy named Gavin Smith, and Gavin Smith's done a lot of turtle work.
Yeah.
But he also did this like Godzilla crossover thing. And I just absolutely love the way he drew Godzilla. And that was what I went for.
Yeah.
And I said, and I think I said, here's the blank. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to do a sketch of Godzilla coming through a town, but I want you to put the bat signal in there because then it'll insinuate it's Gotham.
That's right.
And I said, but use your imagination. And I paid the most I've paid for any so far, which was like $250. And he knocked it out of the park, because what he did was he drew like a building in the foreground as Godzilla's coming out, and he had just a shadow symbol of Batman.
Yeah.
And it was totally even better than I had thought it was going to be. And I was like, so, that's kind of what I do when I tell them, here's the character I want, be creative with it.
Yeah.
So.
And you'd be surprised. A lot of us will turn out a lot of the stuff too, right? Like I do when I was at, because I'm, this year I'm not doing any cons at all, just due to my scheduling.
Yeah.
Probably next year we'll probably be going back to the con conventions. Then with all the IDW covers that we'll be announcing later on, kind of stuff.
Sure.
Then I'll be able to be a guest role in some of these conventions, right? But the other stuff too is I can't go to the States right now, so that's one thing with
well,
we're not proud. We're not proud.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's just I haven't renewed my Nexus and all this other stuff, and if I do that, I have to go through all this background stuff, and but the thing is, like, a lot of the cons this year is going to be like, if you can go out there, do the cons.
I mean, I go to two. I try to go at least to Heroes in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Heroes to me is a lot.
Yeah. I just, I feel bad for the collectors out there, because, you're paying $60-$70 just to get in. Right.
Yeah. But if I'm only doing two, it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, I know. But, the price has gotten ridiculous. That's really what it is. And I feel bad for a lot of the young artists at these shows. They're showing up, they're paying $400 or $500 for a table, right? And they're selling their original art on 8.5 by 11 because they're still working on their craft, right?
Yeah.
If you can support them, that's great, right?
Right.
You get great deals on art from them. Some of them you might see them in 5-10 years. Right?
They have to travel. They have to get a hotel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cost of tabling on.
All right. Well, this was fun.
All right. This was fun, guys. I appreciate you guys for doing this with me today. Thanks in the chat room, guys. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, support us on. Oh, let me see our schedule here. Who's next? Let me
You have
check it.
Jason Lou.
Jason Liu tomorrow. You have
Yep.
Cliff Chang the next day. You have somebody on Friday, I think.
Yeah, we
You might
got.
No,
want
you
to
don't
tune
have
in to Jason
anybody on
Lou.
Friday. So you
Yeah.
have Jason Liu tomorrow. You have Cliff Chang on Thursday, and you don't have anybody on Friday according to your
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to
Brian
Shan,
LCS,
Shan Chen.
Sean
Shan Chen.
Chen. Oh
I'm
yeah,
talking to him, so we're hoping to get him. Maybe he can fit in there somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, hey, thanks everybody for showing up.
Thank you guys.
thank you.
And till next time, we'll happy AAPA guys.
Yeah.
API in stream.
Keep digging.
Keep digging.